Curious Expedition 2. Let's roleplay the game. The whole experience of it in the new patch 1.1 together. I'm looking forward to this experience together with you. It's a great game with a nice story. And we're gonna experience it together. And that is really the focus. There have been so many adventures. Which yarn would you like me to tell tonight? We're gonna go from prologue to campaign to just about everything in a heavy roleplay style. So I'll switch into the expedition leader later on, and then it will be us and me and the world, and not so much the mechanics. It will be rather an atmospheric experience of adventure, of emotion, of enjoyment, and maybe, you never know, about the thrill of bare survival. So, let's go for the full one. The morally certain are fools, but we must act like fools at times if great things are to be accomplished. I was returning from a scientific expedition to Peru when we spotted a great storm brewing on the horizon. The crew prepared to divert around it, but I glimpsed something inside. Land, an island in the middle of the Atlantic where none should be. Over the protest of the captain, I gave orders to head for the island. Trembling but compliant, the crew steered us into the heart of the storm. The tempest raged with an unnatural fury. A strange fog enveloped us, and lightning crackled all around. The vessel was almost torn asunder by the crashing waves. Yet, just when death seemed certain, we emerged from the maelstrom in an almost perfect calm. Let's explore the island, crew. Directly ahead lay a lush tropical island. The storm safely behind us, we prepared to lay anchor and see what wonders this new land held. And also the dark and sometimes violet clouds, purple clouds. What do they mean? Let's explore our island together. We were walking through the grasslands, sometimes meeting trees, sometimes meeting coast. And we marched forward optimistically. Let's take a look. We found an old shipwreck near some mountains. What a curious location. I came across an astounding discovery, the wreck of what looked like an old British naval ship. I couldn't help but wonder how it had come to rest here. Every step we took on this strange island, we seemed to encounter another mystery. Searched the ship, carefully testing the rotten planks before entering. We made a thorough inspection of the ship. After a time, we found several items of value. Oh, nice. We found some dynamite, TNT, and 3 shovels. Maybe we can dig something out. We use the dynamite to get rid of the harsh rocks that stood in our way. Moving through the narrow valley, we discovered a whole other part of the island. And we went to go towards the hills to get a better overview of the lands we were in. We met natives. A small group of indigenous people hurried to our location, seemingly drawn by the sound of our dynamite. The leader of them had a curiously shaped headdress, very colorful. They seemed as shocked to see us as I was to see them. Yet once the initial wonder wore off, they demanded to know who we were and how we got here. We decided to tell them the truth. Using gestures and a friendly manner, I managed to calm the islanders and show that we were but simple travelers. They welcomed us with friendly smiles. After a short time, they made it understood that they must continue their journey. Before they left, they gave detailed instructions to their village, encouraging us to visit. They told us the path to their village. And we were keen to get there, but first we wanted to explore another part of the island, of which we hadn't seen too much. A stone statue with a giant face was what we found. Its massive face was impassive and calm. It was a disconcerting sight, and I was eager to move on. Several items had been placed around the statue ritualistically by the islanders, seemingly offered up to whatever the statue represented. We wanted to leave something there. For them to admire. Placed my offering at the base of the statue. A wave of peace washed over me, and I knew that my bombing sacrifice had been worth the cost. Then we went on to visit the village. After some bites of chocolate. Delicious. Delicious Cadbury. We approached with caution, but they welcomed us with open arms. It seemed word of our arrival had already reached the village. We saw that they had cattle, and had also decorated their huts with cattle. It was like a little civilization. Interestingly, they did not seem as shocked by our strange appearance as I would have expected. One would almost suspect that we were not their first foreign visitors. We wanted to trade. A man from the village unrolled a mat, revealing the village's trade goods. We looked into getting onto even better terms with them, but it was not really necessary ultimately. Instead we bought some cheese and a religious icon. And a hide shield. And looked if we could trade with them for it. Seemed like we could. Reached a deal with the islanders, then went to meet the ruler. Strode into the hut where the ruling council held their hearings. An elder stepped forward and greeted us with an expressionless face. We were allowed one request. Strange skulls looked at us. Along with the ruling council, the elders, men and women alike. We could recruit one of them, and they would help us on our quest. They sent us a scout or an islander shaman, and we wanted to see more of the lands, so we selected a scout. The scout had the name Geroliv. and told us he just knew more about the area and would help us explore very well. He was also able to fight well, and we were happy about that. My request granted, I bowed to the council and left them to their business. I emerged from the hut, blinking rapidly as my eyes adjusted to the light outside. We were tired, and we wanted to rest. I told the team to unpack our things and prepare for the night. That evening, the villagers were planning a ritual dance that seemed to serve as an appeasement of their gods. We observed them. They called these deities the Palikao, a strange word sounding foreign to their tongues. Apparently these gods were builders of great magic artifacts. I was invited to join their dance to honor the great builders. I considered carefully. Refusing might offend them, but a false step would be an even greater insult. We accepted the dance. Thankfully, we made it. The rhythm was entrancing. To my surprise, I managed to follow the complicated pattern without missing a step. The natives really liked my participation. I finished the dance with a flourish, and the islanders erupted into cheers, clapping me jovially on the shoulder. They gave a gift to show their appreciation. We got a battle spare. The evening's activities complete, we settled in for a quiet evening by the fire, before retiring to our bedrolls. I went to take the spare. And also our good shield. The question was, would I take it or would I not? A religious icon would also help, probably. But well, everything was fine, and we went to sleep. We were resting comfortably in the village. Days went by. We tasted the food of the villagers. I enjoyed the safety. I felt more than welcome, and the villagers seemed excited about my presence. Still, we wanted to leave. We were still a little bit tired, so we still stayed with them. The islanders lit a campfire and invited us to sit with them. That evening I approached one of the islanders in an attempt to learn their language. Once he understood what I wanted, he was delighted to teach me. Yek yufami kumekwiv dohifu getewikduk. I've always found that the locals of any place are delighted to share their culture with strangers. We must simply take the effort to reaching out. Tinak, tunak, oh dear, that is a tricky vowel sound, I said. Though there wasn't time to make much progress during our short stay, it was a beginning. And I believe the lessons were a pleasure for us both. Thank you, Pilanu, I said. Pilanu, good student, he answered. And then we made for the beautiful night. A lot was left to explore on the island, and we were looking forward to it. I recovered in the village for nearly a week. I felt an undercurrent of trust here, but it was time to go, to not overstay our welcome. Told the crew to pack and headed out as new adventures awaited us. The villagers wished us a good journey. We looked around with our new scout and went further north, towards the river. We looked at palm trees, and in the west we saw that maybe a swamp would begin there. We wanted to explore that, and neared it quickly. Something mysterious was close by, and we traveled into its direction. There, in the middle of the swamp, we found a shaman. We approached an old rickety hut. A shaman lurked just inside, his wild-eyed stare boring into us from the shadows. He said. Very slowly the shaman got out a bag of animal hide and presented us his wares. He wanted to barter, and we wanted to. We had a beautiful hide shield with us that would make for a good trade. But on the other hand, we didn't really need anything. And so we said him goodbye. We went on to further explore, as we had heard of a waterfall in the vicinity. Though we ate some cheese. Delicious cheese. Delicious hard mountain cheese to celebrate our arrival at the mountainous waterfall soon. As we ventured deeper into the wilds, Geroliv stopped short and pulled me aside. It seemed that we were nearing a site of some interest, the old remains of what she described as the Pale Travelers. This certainly sounded worth investigating. We asked her about the location. Maybe it was time to take a detour. Or maybe it was time to recover. We would recover first. And then visit the camp. Found the waterfall and wanted to rest there. It was a warm and starry night and spirits were high. The urging of my comrades, I told a small anecdote of my travels that evening. Told them of an incident from my travels in Egypt, where a linguistic misunderstanding had led me to propose marriage to a local guy. The truth is, I'm not much the marrying type, I said. He let me down gently enough, but it was a lesson to always take care when navigating the local culture. One never knows what dangers await. That guide led me to some fascinating tombs, though. After days of rest, we still enjoyed the rumbling of the falling water. The falls were glorious, but we had to leave them and go to the location our guide had described to us. An old camp out there. We went a little bit further in order to see maybe even a little bit more. Let's explore that old camp, we said, and so we did. We approached the abandoned camp, hoping to find supplies and possibly answers. Unfortunately, a group of scavenging hyenas was already there and attacked on sight. Let's get those beasties, we chanted. We rolled the dice to combat the beasts. We selected an attack die. And an enemy to boot. Our spears were ready. And our strong Jean-Michel Alexandre struck down one of the hyenas. Ouch! One of the hyenas bit our scout massively. We went to attack. flanked the enemy and tried to destroy them. The hyena was stunned. We still prepared for its attack. But then, just a punch from Jean-Michel, our anthropologist, meant the end for the beast. We had rich spoils, pelts, meat and teeth. That's what we took with us. We took what we could and cautiously approached the old campsite. Perhaps there were valuables that the hyenas hadn't destroyed. We were more experienced. Told about new things. Then we searched the old camp. I ordered a search of the area, feeling of dread prickling the back of my neck. I hoped my trek would avoid the fate of these sorry explorers that had died there. Give it a quick once over. We found a lot of great whiskey, a silver vase, and an old diary, an account of a foolhardy explorer's final days. A tattered field journal within were the notes of an unknown adventurer. Reading the account, it seemed he had fallen prey to the arrogance of many explorers and met his death after rejecting warnings from the islanders. I did come across one intriguing passage. Enormous structure, architecture unknown, technology far beyond our own, let alone these island savages. What purpose could it hold? He went on to give detailed directions to this strange structure. Fascinating. I simply had to visit. We found out where it was. I decided to go for it. But before, we had to help someone. To get rid of her injuries. Our scout Geroliv was happy. Jean-Michel Alexandre learned to fight better with his shield. We cooked a little bit of the meat. Even if it was charcoal, it would give us some sanity against the hunger. Then we went to the hills to find out more about the island. Be able to see it all. Then we even went to other hills, but not before, strengthening our morale with some delicious chocolate. We found an old and interesting burial ground. We proceeded to go there. I approached what seemed to be a sacred burial ground of the locals. I felt an uneasy shiver run down my spine. I'd heard stories of the consequences of disturbing sacred ground. We would try to dig. We found an old mummy wrapped in linen and a silver goblet, and took it all to cover the costs of our expedition and to give the museums something to show. Then, oh well, the chocolate, my friends. And we went on to visit the coast that we hadn't seen yet. Ignoring the structure for the moment, leaving the best for the end. A little bit of whiskey helped us to get there. Something strange was there, out of metal, crystals. The haunting shape of the structure was like nothing I'd seen in all my travels. The purpose was unknowable, but it seemed that it might be some kind of great ancient machine. "What is that thing?" we said. As we approached, Geroliv began to tremble, panic on her face. She frantically warned us that their polycow gods would not tolerate intrusion into this sacred space. We tried to bribe her. Gave her some whiskey so she could relax a bit. It was not cheap, but offering Geroliv a generous share of our loot, I managed to convince her to accompany us further to the altar. I approached the controls of the machine. A strange dread filled me as I drew closer, but the idea of turning back now was unthinkable. As I lay my hand upon the central crystal, a great creaking and clanking filled the air. The surface grew hot to the touch, and a ghastly purple fog began to pour forth. What on earth? I fled that place, the billowing fog chasing me back to my ship. I still ached with curiosity, but one must survive if one is to make great discoveries. We had to reach the ship, and we drank and drank the whiskey, and then made forward. "Run!" we chanted, and we ran and ran and ran, while the purple fog followed us. Relentless, disturbing, swallowing the whole island. We thought we were never going to make it. And something approached us. A strange being, a giant spider, attacked. We prepared to fight. We combined our strength to attack the monstrous spider. Our big game hunter hunted big game. We made her vulnerable and then went in for another attack. Our spare. And with a good haymaker, and then we healed Rhodia, our good big game hunter, and, well, waited what the spider would do. I was stunned and attacked, but we were ready to strike back. With full force we attacked the monstrous spider and struck it down. The creature was dead, the path to the ship clear. I sprinted madly for it, the breath burning in my lungs. Drank a bottle of whiskey and ran. "Escape!" I screamed, running through the purple fog, barely able to see. We lost sight of Geroliv. We would never see her again. It seemed our arrival on this strange island spelled only ill luck for the locals. And with our bare lives, we finally set sail to escape. The dark fog had almost overtaken the ship as we scrambled aboard, the captain hurrying to set her in motion. As we sailed away, we watched as it rapidly swallowed the island behind us. I do not know what would have happened if we had stayed, but I did not want to find out. After a time, the fog itself dissipated, leaving behind empty ocean where mere hours before we walked on land. We set sail for Paris. I arrived in Paris, shaken to my very core. Where had the mysterious island and its inhabitants gone? What frightful machine could do such a thing? I, Victoria Malin, ached to return, but needed to resume my role as the director of the Exposition Universelle. I would have to find someone else to uncover the island's secrets. I pondered the challenges ahead, the difficulty this new explorer would face. He would be a true adventurer. And a death of the explorer would have grave consequences. No one would be here to save them. Gathering together the most accomplished explorers in Paris, I looked closely at each who would become my new right hand. I looked around and met many people. Of different origins and different occupations. Finally, we found Rushdie Shaman, the Cartographer, a globe-trotting adventurer that would create fine maps that would provide fame based on how well explored the areas are. An explorer for an exploration, documenting the progress he made. Flexible, but knowledgeable. He would be our explorer. As he was a little bit old, we hoped he would get some younger people to help him out. It was a beautiful day in Paris. They had begun to already build the Eiffel Tower. I looked out upon the exposition grounds with a smile on my lips. Malin had chosen me to uncover the secrets of the islands. I vowed to not let her down. My heart pounded with anticipation of the fame and glory that lay before me. But first I would need to hire some assistance. And we looked around and found a cafe. I entered the famed Boussole Cassé, the broken compass, and surveyed my surroundings. Renowned as a meeting place for would-be explorers, it was a likely place to find eager adventurers to join my trek. I gave word that I was looking for reliable companions to join my expedition. Soon I had gathered a small set of candidates to choose from. A translator, a curious man from the street, and a missionary. So we were rather looking for younger people. We looked around. We had to look also at the character they had. Strangely, we had a church brother that was a kleptomaniac, and a thief from the street that seemed so helpful would have nothing of that. He was instead mercurial, with heavy swings of character that probably had led to his career. The translator, though, loved the alcohol, and that was something that we would also not say no to, as we didn't want someone to steal too much. It was a choice between someone from the street and a translator. Both were a little bit of the younger side. And a little bit of the tougher side. We went for Henry Durand, as he was a little bit younger and just providing the perfect spirit for the expedition. Yes. Henri Durand joined the trek with a lopsided grin. Though his skill set had been honed in an urban environment, it was certain that he would adapt and prove useful. See the gendarmes! Give me a whistle, eh? We left the cafe. A young companion. The bustle of construction in the fairgrounds hummed around me. We went to see the famous explorers of the Taishi Academy. The historian smiled calmly up at me from atop his perch. He waited silently for me to make a request. Yeah, he didn't want to give us anything yet. But truly, the explorers of the Taishi Academy would be probably who would support us in our going forward. We will see us next time in one of the next pages of our diary, my friends, when we come back and we'll start our new expedition. Have a great time until then. This is Immanuel Can signing out. See you soon and happy gaming.